you think there's any sort of historical trends or industries people can look at to be able to help plan what the expansion is going to be like, and sort of when capital might come back, or how to make sure that if you're in a sea of people trying to raise capital, you stand above the rest? Any thoughts on that?
For me, I think it's around that differentiation space. So I don't know what you can really compare it to in terms of industry. I guess pharmaceutical, but I think where the big companies are looking, and the end game for a lot of players, including ourselves, is how do we deliver cannabinoids into the body, more effectively and efficiently with a lower dose? So how, for example, can we have a slow release mechanism? How is this drug delivered? And that's where a lot of innovation, product development, R&D comes into play. And of course, we're generally speaking kind of a couple of years away. It takes a bit of time to come up with these, and then you need to do clinical trials. But for me, that's where I feel that the focus will be on. It's a little bit of wait and see what happens now. The industry will start to consolidate. I think we're probably starting to see that now. So instead of having hundreds and hundreds of players, there'll be a few bigger ones that are consolidating. And then it will be, okay, who's got the technologies, and, who's different. Oh, and maybe it's an IP, as in a strain or a chemovar that is a little bit unknown at the moment. These minor cannabinoids are coming out that are just so important and integral, and the terpenes and flavonoids and so many components of this amazing plant that are yet to be understood. So there's certainly, I think, a lot of scope in that area as well. So I think we just need to differentiate.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. We did a webinar about a month ago on the intersection of science and business. And the folks who were on that would agree with your position. Opinion or not, Fleta, it certainly has multiple folks who would agree with you directionally on what the science is leading towards and where some investment would be. So I want to wrap it up, because
can I just comment on that really quickly, Chris? Sure. on the what it's going to take investors to come back. I feel like the companies that are going to be rewarded the most are the ones that are going to have an immediate pathway to revenue and to be able to generate revenue. If you can prove to investors that despite revenues being small, if you're able to minimize your burn and you're actually able to generate revenue in the market, and that you can show that growth trajectory on revenue, you are going to see people that will reward you for that. But that's the only other thing I would add. I completely agree with Fleta on the differentiation point. I think that that's going to be critical. But cannabis is like no other industry because it intersects with so much. It's as much a cosmeceutical as a pharmaceutical, as a CPG product, it's just such a diverse set of inflections with respect to different applications that I'm very optimistic in the long run. But in the short term, people that will generate revenue will see rewards from an investment perspective.
Yeah, I remember the tech bust, right, at the end of the 90s. And that was the lesson we learned, and many have forgotten then too, which is you can tell pretty stories and everything, but at the end of the day, if you're in business, you got to make some money. And I think there's a number of people in the cannabis space that have had to relearn that lesson recently.